This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily roundup. We have a packed show today covering everything from cutting-edge robotics in war zones to major shifts in the global financial and housing markets. Let's dive in.
A startup is testing humanoid robots in Ukraine.
Business leaders react to a press dinner shooting.
Oracle secures billions for a massive data center.
Bitcoin quietly approaches a record $80,000.
Brené Brown criticizes the current tech leadership culture.
War in Iran threatens critical medical supply chains.
Labor shortages challenge the UK's ambitious housing goals.
Santander agrees to pay millions for missold loans.
Starting with robotics in warfare. The Startup Foundation is making waves by testing general-purpose humanoid robots in actual war zones. Specifically, they recently sent 2 of their Phantom robots to Ukraine for a pilot demonstration. CEO Sanka Pathak believes there is a moral imperative to use these machines for dangerous frontline tasks rather than mundane household chores like folding laundry. During the test, which took place in an undisclosed location where the sounds of bombs were audible, the robots focused on supply transport. The goal was to show that bipedal robots could move supplies from outside to inside, effectively preventing soldiers from being exposed to enemy fire. This move towards surgical operations and logistics support marks a significant shift from the brute force methods often seen in modern urban warfare today.
It is a fascinating but sobering development. Beyond the technical achievement, the business side is also ramping up quickly. Foundation has already secured a $24 million contract with the Pentagon, signaling serious interest from the U.S. military. Interestingly, Eric Trump has been appointed as the company's chief strategist, which adds a layer of political and high-profile business connection to the startup's trajectory. While drones have already changed the face of war, these humanoid robots represent a new frontier in precision. Pathak argues that instead of destroying an entire building to eliminate a single target, these robots could eventually perform highly specific extractions. It is a vision of warfare that prioritizes machine risk over human life, though it certainly raises complex ethical questions about the future of combat.
Next, the press dinner incident. The annual D.C. press dinner took a terrifying turn recently when a shooting occurred, leading to the immediate evacuation of President Donald Trump and other high-profile Secret Service protectees. The room was filled with not just politicians and journalists, but also prominent business leaders who found themselves in the middle of the chaos. Among those present was UFC CEO Dana White, who is a well-known associate of the president. The incident has sent shockwaves through the business and political communities, as these types of events are usually seen as high security, relatively safe environments for networking and public discourse. The swift action by the Secret Service ensured that the primary targets were moved to safety quickly, but the psychological impact on the attendees and the broader public remains a major talking point.
The reactions from the executive world have been pouring in, with many expressing relief that the situation didn't escalate further. Elon Musk and other tech leaders have also been vocal about the security implications of such events. For many of these CEOs, the dinner is a rare moment where they interact directly with the highest levels of government in a social setting. This shooting highlights the increasing volatility surrounding public appearances for political figures, even in controlled environments. As investigations continue into how the security breach occurred, the business community is left grappling with the reality of heightened risks. It is a stark reminder that the intersection of business and politics can sometimes bring leaders into the line of fire, necessitating even more stringent security protocols for future high-level gatherings in the capital.
Now to Michigan's data center. In rural Michigan, a massive 1 gigawatt data center project has just cleared a major hurdle by securing $16 billion in funding. Developed by Related Digital with backing from Blackstone and PIMCO, the Saline Township campus is set to be one of the largest in the United States. To put its size in perspective, most data centers operate between 100 and 300 megawatts, so this is a gargantuan leap in scale. The facility is designed to power Oracle's AI business, which is projected to bring in $90 billion by 2027. This project is a key piece of the broader Stargate initiative, a $500 billion effort involving OpenAI and SoftBank to ensure the U.S. remains the global leader in artificial intelligence infrastructure. It is a massive bet on the future of compute.
However, not everyone is celebrating this massive investment. Local residents in Saline have been protesting, citing deep concerns over how such a huge facility will affect their local electric grid and the environment. There are fears about noise, water usage, and the general loss of the quiet, rural lifestyle they cherish. While Governor Gretchen Whitmer has hailed it as the largest investment in the state's history, the tension between national tech supremacy and local quality of life is palpable. This is part of a larger trend where tech giants are moving into rural America to find the space and power needed for AI. With over 1,200 data centers now planned or existing across the country, the Midwest is becoming a primary battleground for these infrastructure projects, leaving many small towns to wonder if the jobs are worth the disruption.
Moving to Bitcoin's recovery. Bitcoin is making a quiet but powerful comeback, nearing the $80,000 mark for the first time since January. What makes this rally interesting is that it isn't driven by the usual retail hype or social media euphoria. Instead, it appears to be fueled by short covering and massive, consistent accumulation by institutional players. One company in particular, Strategy Inc., led by Michael Saylor, has been a primary driver. They have purchased nearly $4 billion worth of Bitcoin just this month, their largest acquisition in a year. At the same time, Bitcoin ETFs have seen $2 billion in inflows over the past month, marking a significant shift in sentiment. For those not watching the charts daily, this 14% jump since March might seem sudden, but the underlying data suggests a very calculated and steady recovery.
The derivatives market is also showing signs of a bullish shift. Traders are moving away from the skeptical short positions that dominated earlier in the year. Previously, every small rally was met with immediate selling as people tried to break even, but that pattern seems to have broken. Analysts note that Strategy Inc. is now using proceeds from preferred share sales to fund their purchases, which has helped calm fears about share dilution among their investors. This institutional confidence is spilling over into other cryptocurrencies as well, with Ether up 10%. The fact that this is happening without the typical moon memes suggests a maturing market where big players are setting the floor. If Bitcoin can hold these levels, the path to new all-time highs looks increasingly clear to many market observers.
Next, Brené Brown's critique. Renowned researcher and author Brené Brown is speaking out against what she calls a rise in strongman authoritarianism among tech leaders. For years, her message of vulnerability and empathy was the gold standard in corporate leadership, but she argues that the tide has turned. Today, she sees CEOs using the current economic climate and the AI boom as cover for asshole behavior. She points to sweeping layoffs disguised as productivity gains, increased surveillance of employees, and a general crackdown on dissent as evidence of this shift. Brown believes that truly courageous leaders don't change their values based on the political or economic fashion of the day. She argues that while empathy might not be in style right now, it remains a fundamental requirement for healthy, sustainable organizations, regardless of the pressure from the top.
Her perspective comes from being deeply embedded in major organizations through her leadership curriculum. She notes that even successful executives feel like they are standing on crumbling mountains because of the rapid changes brought by AI and global instability. This fear, she suggests, is driving a return to old-school command and control tactics. Brown's viral TED Talk on vulnerability has nearly 100 million views, showing just how much her message resonated with the public. However, the current reality in Silicon Valley seems to be moving in the opposite direction, prioritizing efficiency and algorithmic output over human connection. Brown is essentially issuing a challenge to the tech elite. Don't use the complexity of the modern world as an excuse to abandon the human-centric leadership that actually builds trust and innovation in the long run.
Now, medical supply concerns. The ongoing conflict in Iran is creating a high-alert situation for the UK's National Health Service. The concern isn't just about energy, it's about the petrochemicals that are essential for modern healthcare. From syringes and intravenous bags to the active ingredients in many medicines, the NHS is heavily dependent on supplies that pass through the Gulf. With shipping at a standstill in the region, there are fears of looming shortages and massive price spikes. The NHS is one of the world's largest bulk buyers, spending billions annually on equipment and medicines. While they currently have some buffers in place due to their massive purchasing power, officials are very worried about a huge shock to the system if the war continues to disrupt logistics routes and energy infrastructure in the Strait of Hormuz.
The disruption extends beyond the sea, Air freight is also being hit as Middle Eastern hubs like Dubai and Doha face flight cuts and fuel concerns. These are critical transit points for medicines coming from India, which is often called the world's pharmacy. The NHS has already started increasing its purchases of certain drugs and devices to build up reserves, but this is a temporary fix. If the conflict drags on, the scramble for supplies could become global, driving up costs for everyone. This situation highlights a hidden vulnerability in modern medicine: its deep reliance on a stable global supply chain for even the most basic items like latex gloves and catheters. It is a reminder that geopolitical instability thousands of miles away can have a direct and immediate impact on local hospital wards.
Shifting to UK housing, the UK government's ambitious pledge to build 1.5 million new homes is facing a reality check. While the build, baby, build philosophy has led to planning reforms and a push for more construction, the actual pace of building is falling short. In the first 18 months of the current parliament, only about 300,000 homes were added, which is nearly a third slower than what's needed to hit the target. The industry is pointing to a massive labor shortage as a primary culprit. Estimates suggest there were 140,000 job vacancies in construction last year, and a third of the current workforce is expected to retire by 2035. Without enough boots on the ground, even the most streamlined planning system won't be able to deliver the volume of housing promised.
Interestingly, some experts at trade colleges say the issue isn't a lack of interest in the skills, but a lack of opportunities for trainees. Enrollment in construction courses is actually booming, with adult education in the field growing faster than any other area. Students are lining up to learn plumbing, brickwork, and carpentry, often facing long waiting lists to get into classes. The challenge seems to be bridging the gap between the classroom and the construction site. If the government wants to reach its goal, it may need to focus as much on the human infrastructure of the building trade as it does on the legalities of planning permission. Young workers are eager to help solve the housing crisis, but the sludge in the system is preventing them from getting onto the sites where they are needed most.
Finally, the Santander settlement. Santander has officially agreed to pay compensation for its role in the mis-selling of car loans, a move that affects millions of customers. The Financial Conduct Authority has identified over 12 million unfair motor finance deals across various lenders, with an average payout expected to be around £829 per claim. The total redress could reach £7.5 billion. These deals often involved discretionary commission arrangements, where brokers or car dealers could secretly hike interest rates to earn more commission for themselves. This practice was banned in 2021, but the fallout is only now being fully addressed. Santander decided not to challenge the redress scheme, stating they want to bring certainty to their customers and shareholders, even though they disagree with some elements of the proposed plan.
This is a massive win for consumer rights in the UK. The program covers car finance agreements taken out between 2007 and late 2024. The FCA expects the majority of these claims to be settled by the end of 2027, with payments starting almost immediately for those who have already complained. It is a significant blow to the motor finance sector, which has relied on these commission structures for years. For Santander, the decision to settle is a finely balanced judgment aimed at moving past the controversy and improving their standing with regulators. As other lenders follow suit, we are likely to see a major wave of payouts that could provide a small but welcome boost to millions of households. It serves as a stark warning to the financial industry about the long-term costs of opaque pricing.
That's our roundup for today. Thank you for joining us for this briefing. We'll be back tomorrow with more updates on the stories that matter. Have a great day.